everybody, welcome back to Camille's Cozy Chronicles. Today we're going to be talking about the books that I read in February. I have a stack of books right here that you guys can't see. I have my computer that has my list and like my little script and notes about all these books. I also have my cute little reading journal to kind of just give me reference for all of the Kindle books and everything that I don't have copies of. A note about this video and how the books are organized. I organize it by the physical books I read and then Kindle books and then audiobooks. So it's not in order of when I read them, but these are organized in the order. So I read them in this order. I want to share some stats with you guys first. In February, I read 5 physical books, and there were 8 Kindle books and 2 audiobooks, so that adds up to 15 books. And 9 of those books were fantasy, 4 of them were historical, and 2 of them were rom-coms. And I don't know how many pages I read because I did that last time and it was too much of a pain, and so I don't really care that much, so we're not calculating that. Let's go ahead and jump into the first book. I had 2 rereads this year, and this is the first one. This is The Shadow Heir by C.F.E. Black. I gave it 5 stars. It's on Kindle Unlimited. Her father made a deal with the Fae before she was born, and now they've come to collect, and he made a deal with like the worst possible Fae like you could have picked. And so the prince of the Shadow Fae, is he the prince? He's the prince because it's called the Shadow Heir, duh. So the prince of the Fae comes and takes her back to the Fae Kingdom, where she has to compete in these kind of Hunger Games-esque games where the mortals that the Fae have collected basically like fight to the death, and then if they survive, they like win, or not win, but they like earn privileges, I guess. And it's kind of sick. And I guess the goal is that no human can survive the Shadow Fae Kingdom. So this book is about Zara and Zara, and his name is Casimiro, and it's a fantasy romance, but it's clean, no spice. If you have seen my Instagram and I have a little rating post thing, I would say that the romance is probably like level 3 or 4, probably in between 3 and 4. So like, yeah, probably in between 3 and 4. This is my special edition. It's really pretty. It has a really pretty front cover. I really enjoyed this book, and I really enjoyed it a lot more than the first time I read it, because the first time I read it, I just read it so fast. I needed to know what happened. I read it like right after it came out. I needed to know what happened, and I needed to know, and I just read it so fast, and I missed so many details. And this time I slowed down and enjoyed it and savored it. And I really enjoyed it a lot more than the first time I read it, just because I slowed down. And that's the problem I have with a lot of books, is I get excited and I want to know what happens, so I read it really fast. Okay, so that was The Shadow Heir, 5 stars on Kindle Unlimited. So the next book we're going to talk about is Shadows of Swanford Abbey by Julie Clausen. The tag says it's historical fiction, but I would say it's like Regency mystery, because it's like that Regency era. So their little tagline on the back cover says, Agatha Christie meets Jane Austen in this atmospheric Regency tale brimming with mystery, intrigue, and romance. So I gave this book 5 stars. This is a murder mystery, and basically all I can tell you is they're in this hotel, and then it's like a lot of people are staying there, and then this famous author gets murdered, and he's like the head of the town and like the owner of the estate that the town is established in. The lord of the manor, his name is Frederick, and Rebecca Lane is her name. So Frederick and Rebecca are trying to figure out who done it, pretty much, because there's a lot of stuff going on, and she gets drawn into it and he gets drawn into it and people around them get drawn into it, and there's just a lot going on. And I just have to say that I haven't read Regency in a really long time, and I kind of forgot how much I really liked the time period. And after I read this book, it just made me want to go like reread all my Regency books that I own. I was just like, man, I really love this time period, and like the romance and how like it's so tame but it's so good, and it's just like it's so subtle but it's like ooh, but it's so good, you know? And the mystery was really good. I'm not like super into mysteries, and so I say this like I always figure out who does it. I never figure it out. But I definitely was way off base on what the murderer was in this book. Like I was thinking this person over here, and it was actually like the complete opposite direction. I actually just fell right into the author's trap of who I was supposed to think it was. But anyways, so I gave that one 5 stars. And it's really pretty. I really love this cover. It's super pretty, and the spine is really pretty too. It's like pink and has flowers on it. It's really pretty. So 5 stars. This next book, this book was really sad, and it was really disappointing. We still have to talk about it, but it was really sad. When Stars Like the Sky by Elizabeth Camden. I gave this book 3.5 stars. And this is the second book in the Women of Midtown series. The first book is While the City Sleeps. And I really liked that one, and that one was really good. There were a couple elements of that first book that I didn't like enjoy, but I was like, yeah, this is good. I like this. Elizabeth Camden is one of my favorite historical fiction authors. And so when she announced that not only her new book was coming, but that it was her first ever Marriage of Convenience book, I was so excited because you guys know by now that I absolutely adore Marriage of Convenience. It's one of my favorite tropes. I just really enjoy it. And so I was super, super, super looking forward to this book. I pre-ordered it and I read it like pretty much right after it came out. And I was very, very disappointed in the book. But before I go any further, let me tell you what this book is about because you guys might really like it. So this book is about Inga, and she is a German citizen, or I'm trying to remember if she is German or if her parents were born in Germany and then they came to America, something like that. The American ambassador to Germany needs a secretary, and he is like a family friend. So he asks Inga to come to Germany with him and be his secretary. And this is right in the beginning stages of World War I, which I thought that was really interesting. We're in Germany in the beginning of World War I. When I tell you the tension in this book I was so stressed out because I was just like, the Germans, they're scary. You guys got to get out of there. And like it kept just getting worse and worse and worse. And it was like, you're not leaving. She's the main character. And then she gets to the embassy in Germany, and she is meeting all the staff, and they're all really nice, but everybody keeps telling her about Benedict. Benedict? Yeah, this guy he's the chief of staff in the embassy. And he is just like the worst sourpuss ever. Like I can't remember, I think it was like he eats cold oats for breakfast every morning because he's just so hard-hearted, and that's like what they would tell her. And so everybody's like, watch out for her. And Benedict, when he realizes that the ambassador has hired a German American girl to be his secretary, he kind of freaks out because he's like, this is bad for like the politics and the conflict, and we're already having problems with Germany. We don't need to add the possibility of her being accused as like being a spy or something to that. So needless to say, Benedict is really apprehensive about Inga and therefore treats her very callously, and we all know where this is going. But so that's pretty much the like summary of the book without giving away spoilers. That's like the premise. And now the reason why I gave this book 3.5 stars. There were several things in this book that I just could have been handled so much differently, and mostly with the marriage of convenience. We all know that's it says marriage of convenience on the cover, so we know Inga and Benedict get married. I won't disclose the reason why, but we all know they end up getting married because it's a marriage of convenience. By the time they actually got married, they didn't actually get married until like, I don't want to say, it was like half of the book they weren't married, like the first half. And the first like 75% of this book was so good. Like their romance was cute, the history was really interesting, I really loved it. I kept reading it because I wanted to know what happened. We hit the 75% mark and I started to see some things in Inga and I was like, oh no, this is going downhill very quickly. She was just very selfish, and Benedict, and it was really frustrating because Benedict was like looking out for her and watching out for her and taking care of her, and all she was thinking about was herself. And they were married, and she just kept talking about her feelings and how she was like feeling afraid and like afraid to like sacrifice for him. And I was literally like, you say you love him, or you're starting to love him, and love is literally sacrifice. I don't know. Most people that I've seen really liked this book. I personally, the ending, just personally, what happened at the end and what Benedict did for her at the end of the book, I really did not want it to go that way. Because I felt like she should have been the one to sacrifice and not him. Because he had sacrificed so much for her already, and she literally sacrificed like nothing. But a lot of people really like this book. And I don't want you guys to be like, watch this video and be like, oh, she said she didn't like it, and so I'm not gonna read it, even if it sounds really interesting. Because I gotta tell you, the historical elements, I would read this book again, and I am keeping it. Number one, because the cover is beautiful. Look at it, it's gorgeous. Number two, because I really love the premise of the embassy in Germany. It's high tension, it's high stakes, it's really interesting. I will read the third book in the series. I will. I want to know, because I want to know. Like, I love Elizabeth Camden, and I love her historical details are always amazing. So I don't want you guys to see this video and be like, oh, well, Camille didn't like it, and that means I won't like it, or I'm not going to read it. If it sounds interesting to you, go for it. Form your own opinion. By all means, this is just my opinion. And I'm really sad that I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to. So I really don't want to talk about this book anymore because it kind of gets me fired up, and if I keep talking about it, I'm probably going to say some spoilers. So I am keeping it for now. I probably will reread it in the future, and if I still feel this way in the future, we'll see. But for now, 3.5 stars. Okay, so on a happier note, this next book I gave 5 stars. It was amazing. I read this for my reading blog. I'll link it. I'll try to link it in the video so it like pops up in the corner, you know, like here or wherever. I'll try to do that and figure out how to do that. These Hallowed Binds by A.M. Dalen. It is the first book of the Imperial Guardian saga. I don't know how many books there's supposed to be, but I'm really excited and at the same time terrified. But I mean, you guys can tell I really like this book because I don't know if you can see, but I have not lots, but a decent amount of tabs. Most of these tabs are to certain characters just like bickering back and forth. They really like each other, but they're both dudes, so they like don't show it because like, no, I can't actually like you. You have to think I don't like you, but they both really love each other in a very platonic way. And it was the best thing ever. But so this is about, oh great, now I have to remember her name, Nouriel. So there's 3 main characters. She's the main character, or is she the protagonist? I always get those confused. But anyways, so first we have Nouriel. How do I explain this? I'm just gonna kind of summarize the dust jacket. She lives in this village, and the whole village thinks she's absolutely crazy and really like, what's the word? My brain. It's broken. They really they don't blackmail her, but they, you know that word that you use when somebody, like, they're like manipulating you into making you think that what you know or what you thought or what you saw is not real. Still don't know. Okay, so anyways, the whole village thinks she's crazy and has convinced her that she is seeing things because she says she watched the lake by their village drown her father, and she was there, and the lake like actually like pulled him like underwater and like drowned him. She decides, I know I'm not crazy. I know what I saw, but I have to prove it to everybody else. So I'm gonna go into the lake, and if it drowns me, then at least everybody will know I was telling the truth. First of all, that's either really brave or really stupid. But anyways, continuing on from that, the lake does try to drown her. And this is all in the very first couple chapters, so I don't really feel like these are spoilers. It's all in the description of the book, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling. But so this lake does try to drown her, and this guy, his name is Caldin, he saves her. And he is like, Noriel, I saved you because I was given a vision of you, and you are the next member of my bind. Get to that in a second. But anyways, basically, God, this is a Christian fantasy, but they obviously have different names for God. So basically, God, whatever name he used, I don't remember, has chosen you to be a part of my bind, my close group of people, and pretty much we have to save the world. Noriel, she's like, excuse me, sir? What do you mean we have to save the world? What do you mean? It's only like 300 pages, and I was really sad that it wasn't longer because I thought it was going to be so much longer. But so then they travel, and the bind, I'll tell you guys this now. So basically, Caldin, he is the prince of the wardens, and the wardens are people who help keep the dark curse that this like being has placed, this corrupt immortal, translate Satan, has placed over the world to, and the wardens are like the guardians, but they're actually, people don't have a lot of faith in them, and they think that they're actually bad, so they're underground in hiding. And so the bind is like smaller groups of wardens. So Kaladin is not only the sovereign prince of all the wardens, he also has his own bind. And so Noriel joins his bind. So they go on a journey. And by the end of this book, I can't tell you that, but so they go on a whole journey, and they meet 2 other members of his bind, and then they continue on through the journey, and then that's the end of book 1. Book 2 is coming out, I think, this fall, and I'm really excited about that. Now I can just like fangirl about this book because I didn't know about this book for very long. I think it came out in February, and I don't think I saw it until like the end of December, but the A.M. Dalen does such a good job on her marketing and her just how creative her marketing is, and I was immediately hooked, and I was immediately like, tell me more, I need to know. And I pre-ordered the book, and I'm on the street team for the next book, and I'm just really excited about it. So I really loved it. The world building is so cool, and the magic system is so cool. It's so unique and complex, but at the same time, it's so easy to understand. Like, it's not hard to understand, and it's not confusing at all. I do wish I remember thinking, I wish there was a map in the beginning of this book. There's not. And I wish there was, because they do a lot of traveling in this book, but maybe we'll get a map in the next one. The other really cool thing is this, I don't know what you call this, like page design, but this quote. There's a quote in the beginning of the book, and it's by C.S. Lewis, and it says, "Hardship often prepares an ordinary person for an extraordinary destiny." And I love that. And the interior of this book is just so gorgeous. Like, look at it. It's just so pretty. It's just so pretty. I just love it. Oh, and I should show you guys the cover. Just check it off. Look how pretty it is. Oh, I love it. I can't wait for the next one. The characters were really good. I really liked Norinel, and I liked Kaladin. He wasn't like my favorite, and I know his POV is like most prominent in the next book. There is, beware, there is like a love triangle in this book, and I'm really hoping it goes a certain way. I have a sinking feeling it's not going to go the way I want, because I thought that with the Nightingale trilogy too. And did it go the way I wanted? No, it did not. But there, I have to, speaking of the Nightingale trilogy, there is a character in this book very much similar to Cass from the Nightingale trilogy, and I love him. He's my favorite character. I need more. I need more. He's the best one. He's my favorite. Anyway, so if you guys really like Lord of the Rings, if you guys really like the Nightingale trilogy, this book definitely gives those vibes. So this was 5 stars. The next, not the last, but technically the last physical book I read was The Indigo Heiress by Laura Franz. This is my first Laura Franz book. I gave this book 4 stars. I really, really liked it. Marriage of Convenience. I was so excited. I haven't read a colonial or a book set in colonial time period in forever. And it was really good. Plus, it was in Scotland. The tagline for this book is, "Virginia plantation life is all she has ever known, but could the life she was meant to live be waiting on a distant shore?" So her name is Juliet, and she is the indigo heiress. Her father owns an indigo plantation, so they do own slaves in this book, but that is a big part of the book, and she is not in favor of that, but it's just the time period. So it's 1774, literally right before the Revolution, which I thought was so interesting. I was like, oh, okay. And then, what is his name? Oh, Leith. And then the other character in this book is Leith Buchanan, and he is a tobacco baron, and he's from Scotland. And he comes to Virginia because he has like business in Virginia. And so he comes to Virginia, and that's where he meets Juliet. Lo and behold, he's also looking for a wife. So things happen, I can't really say, and they end up getting married because marriage of convenience, and he needs a wife. And then they go to Scotland. I would say half of this book is in Scotland. Maybe a little more than half. And I've never read Scotland in like that time period, like 1774. It was so good. And I'm pretty sure the author like had some of like the Scottish like brogue written in the dialogue, and I really liked that. It just helps me hear the Scottish accent in my head so much better. First, it's in the United States, in the colonies in Virginia, and then they move to Scotland. Since this is marriage of convenience, there is scenes between married couples. This is closed door. We never even get close to any lead up or anything. I really loved how the author handled the intimacy between them as a married couple. It was very sweet and respectful and just so like simple. I would really say this romance is probably like, again, I would say it's been between like level 3 and level 4. Well, I guess technically it's like level 5 because it is closed door and stuff it's implied, but there's no lead up whatsoever. So, but there's not like super like steamy kisses or anything. Do with that what you will. There's a plot twist. The plot twist was like here, and when I tell you, I was like everything was going wrong, and I was just like, this is not good. So I really, really, really liked this one. That was really good. And also, just look at this cover. It's so pretty, and the spine is beautiful as well. Like, I look at this spine on my bookshelf, and I'm just like, oh, I love it. It's so pretty. It's so pretty and florally. Okay, so that was The Indigo Heiress, and that is the end of the physical books. So the next book we're going to talk about, I don't have a copy of it yet, is The Backpack Bride by Dulcie Dameron. I give this book 4 stars. It is available on Kindle Unlimited if you guys are interested. It is a marriage of convenience rom-com. It is book 1 in the Give a Bookish Girl. This title so much. Wow, I am struggling to talk. This title is a mouthful. It is book 1 in the Give a Bookish Girl a Biker series. Got it. I did good. So it is Marriage of Convenience. As much as I remember, I think her name is Roxy. Her name is Roxy. Don't ask me what his name was. I have no clue, but he's a billionaire. So Roxy is she's struggling to care for her teenage nephew and herself. She's trying to get custody of him from another family member, like a very distant family member who doesn't know them. And so she's trying to get custody from him, and the judge or whatever tells her, well, if you want custody of your nephew, you don't have a very stable home life. It would be better if you were married. And she's like, great. I have the worst track record ever of relationships. There's no way. Enter in, don't remember his name, but the billionaire. And I don't remember how they meet, but basically he's like, I will take care of you and I will love you like as much as I can. And like does he say like the Bible? I feel like he does. He's like, I'm going to love you, and like the Bible tells me to, like a husband should love his wife, and I'll take care of you and I'll provide a home for you so you can get custody of your nephew. And at first she really doesn't want to do it, but she ends up doing it. And then obviously they fall in love and stuff. And it was really good. I really liked it. Their chemistry was so well written, and both of them were super sweet. She did struggle with a lot of, I would say, self-esteem issues, and he was so reassuring in that and just being like, no, you are worth it. Oh, it was so good. I love it when the girl is like, well, I don't love it for them, but when the girl is like, I don't know, I'm not worth that. Why would you love me? And he just looks at her, you are worth it. You were worth everything. And was like, oh, it's so sweet. I don't know if I said, but I gave this book 4 stars. Also, the friend group in this series, it's about this group of friends, and they ride their bikes together, and that's why he's a biker. So he's a biker. And so they ride their motorcycles together, and the friends are hilarious. The one closed door scene between them as a married couple, there was no lead up, and it was very clean. The reason that I bumped it down to 4 stars was that there wasn't a ton of faith content, and I felt like kind of there was from the beginning, like there would be more, and then there wasn't as much as I thought there was, and I was just a little bit sad about that. But that was my own personal opinion. I wasn't promised more faith content, so I really liked it. It was really good. The next book we're going to talk about, I actually have a copy of because I ordered it, but I read it. It was an ARC, and it is Andromache by Ellie Richmond. This book, I read the ARC copy of it on my Kindle, and did I read it in one day? I don't think it was one day, but it was really fast. It was so good. I gave it 5 stars. It was inspired by Esther and also the Selection series by Kiera Cass. It actually is on Kindle Unlimited. It came out on March 11th, so it's now available ebook and paperback. And I think there's actually a hardcover copy as well. So this is about Andy. I'm just going to call her Andy. And they live in a dystopian society where the United States is divided into the West Coast and the East Coast. And the West is they're kind of poor, and there's lots of there's lots of poverty and disease. And then the East Coast, they are very technologically advanced, but they don't have much of a human population. Like most of the population is like robots. So there's a treaty between the 2 nations, the West and the East, and in exchange, it says Western brides in exchange for Eastern technology. Andy is chosen to go to the east to wed a nobleman and bear his children. But there's a problem because she actually is infertile and she is not able to have children. But she has been deceiving the tests that test for fertility in the women of the West. And so that nobody knows this. So she goes and she enters this competition to marry. He's called the soon-to-be elector. He's not the king, so it's like the elector's son. And then there's like 3 or 4 other guys that also need wives. So there's like 5 or 6 girls, I don't remember. So they all go and they're competing in this, like, I don't want to call them trials, but like competition to see who is worthy to marry like the son of the elector. And his name is Denzel Xavier, although she just calls him Xavier, so that's what I'm gonna call him. This is really hard to explain without giving a lot of stuff away, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and there's a lot going on just in all of the like political stuff in the East that she has to now deal with, and it's really kind of scary sometimes. I was really scared for her several times, and I thought this was gonna be a series, but it's actually just a standalone. So I'm kind of sad that it's not longer and like a series, but it's a nice little easy read. It's 300, a little over 300, so it's an easy read. I would say this is if you are sensitive to infertility, miscarriage, or abortion, or talking about abortion or anything related to stuff like that. I would go into this book knowing that. I thought there is a note at the beginning. So it says, this book deals with infertility, abortion, killing in the name of convenience, and betterment of society, and abuse. Opinions on these matters vary widely, and some of these topics are best avoided if a person has a particularly painful past with some of these issues. While all of these things are presented at a PG-13 level on the pages, these topics can still be acute. And then it says, if you pick up this book, we hope you find light in the midst of darkness, and that you are moved to protect society's most vulnerable members. And then there's just a little bit more. So there's a note at the beginning of the book about that, and I just wanted to mention that because I know that is a big thing for a lot of people. But I really love this book. I think, did it make me cry though? I can't remember. It was a while ago when I read it. This video is so long overdue, but I can't remember if I cried, but it was definitely very moving. It addresses so many issues that have become like a big deal in our culture, but the way it does is very tactful and sensitive, and I just feel like it's a really important book to read. I love the whole cast of characters, and ever since I finished this book, I've just been thinking about it. Like, I just constantly and sometimes I just think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, remember that? And I probably will be rereading it soon. This book shares a lot of similarities with Esther in the Bible, and like Esther, God is not explicitly mentioned in this story, but you can see and feel his presence and his hand throughout the book, kind of like in Esther. Like, he's never like mentioned, but definitely there. This book is for fans of like The Selection, Divergent, and The Hunger Games. That's Andromache. Shift some things around here. Just gotta move my stack to the back because it's getting a little tall. Okay, so the next book we're gonna talk about, that probably looked really creepy and I didn't mean it to be, but the next book we're gonna talk about, and I'm so it was so good. I just loved it so much. A Thieving Curse by Selena R. Gonzalez. This is book 1 in the Mirabelle Chronicles. This is a Beauty and the Beast reimagining. So it's not a retelling, it's a reimagining. So it's inspired by Beauty and the Beast. I gave this book 5 stars. It's on Kindle Unlimited. This is about Princess Raylan. She is engaged to be married to this other prince in the neighboring kingdom. And so her family goes and they're going to the kingdom so they can get married. And they are waylaid on the road and she gets separated from her family. And she gets rescued by this guy. And he's actually a dragon. And when I say that he's a dragon, I mean he literally has horns and wings and a tail, and he can also shift into an actual dragon. He saves her, and then he kind of like takes her, not takes her captive, but sort of, kind of. And then things happen, things are revealed, stuff happens. It's really good. It's actually a pretty long book, but it didn't feel long at all. Let me see. It says 400 pages. So it's pretty, I mean, it's pretty thick. It didn't feel really long. I read it on my Kindle, and then I loved it so much that I bought a copy of it. Her brother and her got into so much trouble. Like, they're the oldest too. So I think, well, no. There's like 4 royal siblings, their oldest brother, and then they're in the middle, and then they have a younger brother. So the 2 in the middle, obviously, are like running, they're always like running off and hiding like from like their duties and their classes and their servants and everything. And they have like all these special like hiding places in the castle, and it's just like the best thing ever. They're so cute. The good thing about this book, and one reason I really liked it, was the dragon guy. His name is Alexander. And you know how in like a ton of Beauty and the Beast retellings, like the Beast is just like this horrible person and he's so mean, and it's like, why are you even like why do you even like him at this point? Because he's like so hateful. He was not hateful. He definitely had anger issues that were magnified by the curse he was under, but other than that, he's like a really good person. He just has a lot of anger issues. There was this book, it made me cry. There's a certain scene and certain event. It was so sad. I cried and it was really sad, but I really liked the political intrigue. It was intense and it was captivating and it was interesting. There's a note, there were a couple innuendos, and the kissing is not handsy, but it leans more towards being a little descriptive. And then for like violence sensitive, I would say this is like PG-13, because there's quite a bit of violence at the end. It gets a little bit, it gets kind of sad. And there's one character that you were specifically like, I want to hurt you so bad because you're being a horrible person. Let's talk about him in a second, because we'll just have to talk about that in a minute. Yeah, but it was really good. I really liked it. I don't think there was cursing in it, but I don't remember. But it was really good. It was really clean. The romance was really clean. So this one's really good. 5 stars. This next book, this was my favorite book of February, you guys. And I just have to tell you, if you hated, what's his name, Tristan in this book, you are gonna love him in this book. So for those of you who don't know, this is a 12 Dancing Princesses reimagining. It's book 2 in the Mirabelle Chronicles. It's also on Kindle Unlimited. This book is about the villain of this book. He's like, okay, he's not the villain, like the main villain, but he's very villainous. So do with that what you will. It's really good. I can't say, I feel like I can't talk about this book a ton because I don't want to give away what happens in the first book. You definitely have to read these books in order. All I can say is I binge read this book in a single day, and look how thick it is. It is a phenomenal redemption arc, and it was so much more emotional than I was expecting, and I loved every second of it, you guys. It was amazing. So yeah, it's a 12 Dancing Princesses reimagining, which I'm finding out I really like that fairy tale. I've only read a few like retellings of it, but I really like it. It's really interesting. This book made me cry so much more than the first one did, because you just have to read it. But Tristan, he goes through so much, and some people in his life have put him through so much and like made him feel like he wasn't worth anything, and just so like made him feel like he was a horrible person when he's really like not that bad of a person. He had a lot of self-worth doubts about himself, and it was really sad, but it was so good. This plot though was so intense. And every chapter, something, like, it was like almost every chapter, something would happen, and I would be like, I gotta know what happens. Like, what? That did not just happen. So it was really good. And I did not know how this was gonna turn out okay. I did not know, but it did, and it was good. So, yes, 5 stars on Kindle Unlimited. If you don't read anything else from this video, read these 2 books because they're amazing. We have a couple books before I have another book to hold up. So the next book we're going to talk about is The Favored by Michaela Robbins. This was an ARC read. It is releasing on the 29th, which is soon, because today's the 26th. So it might be out by the time this video comes out. I don't know. I gave it 4 stars, but basically this book is about, I don't remember her name. But anyway, she finds out that her grandfather has left her inheritance to her, but with one catch, she has to get married or else she can't inherit the money. So she's looking for a husband, and yeah, that's pretty much the whole plot. And there's a lot of other things, but I don't feel like I can say because it's kind of like a spoiler. I really liked, they're like 3 sisters, and they were I really liked them, and I really would like more detail of their, like, the other 2 sisters. I really liked the faith content and their prayer lives. The characters' prayer lives were pretty good. Everything was pretty, like, had a lot of meaning. One of the characters in the book has PTSD. They call it shell shock. It's a Roaring 20s book. So it's World War II, because he was in World War II. So he has PTSD, and he has a couple panic attacks on page. There's also an asylum mentioned towards the end of this book. And the reason it's not 5 stars is because I felt like the end of the book, like the twist at the end was very abrupt and kind of like a little odd, and I was like, this seems like something that could be solved easily, but they're not solving it easily and making it a lot harder. But that could just be me not knowing much about asylums in the 1920s. Who knows? So that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I liked it. It was good. It was good. I liked it. I didn't like love it, but it was good. The next book we're going to talk about is My Phony Valentine by Courtney Walsh. I just have to say, this book sent me on a stream of rom-coms, and like over half of the books that I've read this month have been rom-coms. And it was a hockey romance, and I didn't know I even liked hockey romance until I read this book, and I was like, ah, I'm in love. It's my new favorite thing. This is about Dallas and Poppy, and they have like a little meet cute. Also, isn't Poppy just like the cutest little name you've ever heard of? Because I think it's adorable. So they have a meet cute in a coffee shop. She's dealing with like a really nasty girl in the town, and for some reason, I don't remember why, tells her that the guy standing in front of her is her boyfriend. Well, he turns around and guess what? He's a famous hockey player. Well, she doesn't know that because she doesn't watch hockey. Or does she? Wait, no. I think she... no, I don't remember. Anyways, so then they decide that he is having a really like hard time like with his image because everybody thinks he's like a bad boy, and I don't remember. I think because he has a history of being a bad boy, but he's like not anymore because he had a change of heart and everything. So they decide to enter into a fake dating, so this book is fake dating, contract, and they literally sign a contract where his publicity will help her restaurant, she owns a restaurant, gain traction because she is in a lot of debt and her restaurant's not doing so well. And so he's like, hey, if I go to your restaurant and eat a couple times, everybody's gonna want to eat there, which is true. And then in turn, his reputation will be helped because he'll be dating a small town girl, like a wholesome small town girl. So everybody be like, oh, he's changed. So that's kind of like the whole plot. And then obviously they fall in love because romance. And it's a Valentine's Day themed book. I giggled and just like laughed and smiled so much while I was reading this book, like my cheeks hurt. Like, it was so funny. They were so awkward, but it was so cute, and it just felt so real and like relatable. And like Poppy just kind of like blurts out stuff sometimes, and it's just like, that made no sense, but I feel I definitely do that too, so I empathize with you. Aside from a few innuendos, and there's this one scene in his kitchen where she thinks something about his abs, and it's just so cringy, and I was just like, ugh, secondhand embarrassment. But aside from that, the book was clean. I mean, there was a couple make-out scenes, I think, but I don't remember them being like, oh my gosh, this is, ugh. So I don't really remember it being like that. And I just really, the last thing, Dallas, he took such good care of her, and he was so sweet. He's a really good guy, and he was just really sweet, and it was just really good. That is 4 stars. That book is on Kindle Unlimited, so go check it out if that sounds interesting to you. Oh good, we only have a couple more books. Yes, we're doing good. I feel like we're doing good. Okay, so the next book we are going to talk about is Suspended in the Stars by E.A. Hendricks. This is book 1 in the, I want to say Xeris Galaxy Xeris Galaxy Saga. That sounds right. I gave this book 5 stars. I had this book sitting on my Kindle for so long, and I'm really sad that I neglected it for so long, because once I started reading it, I like flew through it. The tagline for this book, it says, "A girl in hiding, a boy on the run, the fate of the galaxy between them." Already, you're hooked, right? So this book is about Tally and Renner, which, can I just say, Renner? That is such a cool name. I read that and I was just like, oh man, I really like his name. It was so good. So basically, Tally is in hiding on a circus spaceship. So this is sci-fi. And it's like sci-fi fantasy. She is living on a circus ship, and she is the Soaring Staress is her like stage name. So she's like a trapeze acrobat, prop acrobat. And then she's living out and she's in hiding. We know she's in hiding, but we don't know what she's hiding from. So I can't tell you because it's a secret. But she is forced to hide Renner because he is a soldier on the run from the Royal Guard. So she hides him, and he becomes kind of part of her act, and so it definitely has lots of Greatest Showman vibes. It kind of felt like the romance in The Greatest Showman, because there's lots of trapeze moments, and he was like falling in love with her. But no, I can't, because this is like forbidden love, because there's a lot of huge reasons why they can't be together. He's so flirty. He loves muffins. He loves muffins. It's like my favorite thing about him. He loves muffins. Things happen. Lots of things happen. They have to leave the circus ship because things happen. And then other things happen. And then I just feel like I'm saying things happen, but I really can't say. So all I can say is it's like The Greatest Showman mixed with Star Wars. And I also kind of felt like they had Anakin and Padme vibes just because of like the forbidden romance. He's not like Anakin at all, don't worry. She did remind me of Padme a little bit though. So that gives you a clue. Their chemistry was so good. They're like their banter and the tension, and then once they did start falling for each other, it was like, yay! But how are you gonna make this work? So it was really good. And I really liked the Greatest Showman circus elements of it. It was really cool. So yeah, Suspended in the Stars. Loved it. 5 stars. Okay. The last Kindle book. I read that book on Kindle too, but I loved it so much that I bought this one and then the next one, the second book in the series, which is Falling Through the Black, and then the third book is coming out later this year. The last Kindle book we're going to talk about today is Rune by Victoria McCombs. This was an ARC read. I gave it 4 stars. The ebook is already out, but the paperback and hardcover will not be released until April 8th. This is about, well, it's about Rune, and she is a Viking, and she makes a deal with the gods that if they let her marry this boy she's in love with, she'll follow them forever or something. She makes a deal with the gods. Basically, the whole point of this book, don't make a deal with the gods. Pretty much. That's the whole point. So, in a very bad turn of events, the boy she loves actually ends up proposing to her sister. And then so she's really mad at the gods and like pretty much renounces them. And then this literal like Viking god shows up and says, "You're the long lost princess or goddess, and I'm coming to take you back to Asgard." So he takes her back to Asgard, and she's like, what the heck is going on? So then she's in Asgard. Most of this book is in Asgard, and I thought that was really cool. Because the only thing I know about Asgard is like from Marvel, and I like this version of Asgard way better. Anyways, I feel like it was very more accurate to like mythology, Norse mythology, and I don't know that much about Viking gods, but I thought it was interesting. Then she ends up in a fake relationship, fake engagement with this other god, and they have to pretend to be in love because they both want to get out of Asgard pretty much, and I can't really see anything else besides that. I really liked it. This book, the ebook is on Kindle Unlimited. This book had a lot to do with sisters, and I really liked the fact that even though there was so much trying to pull these sisters apart, they didn't let it happen. I mean, for a little while there was a rift between the sisters, but they mended it. I really liked the premise of like the gods coming down and whisking a mortal girl away to Asgard. I felt like it had a lot of similarities to Till We Have Faces, And I think that's how we can view this novel as well. Kind of like how C.S. Lewis wrote Till We Have Faces to kind of mirror our relationship with God. I feel like that's kind of how this book can be looked at. So it's not explicitly Christian, but I feel like there are lots of Christian elements in it. I pre-ordered a hardback copy, paperback copy, not hardback copy. So I'm really excited to have that on my shelf when it comes out. And I'm really glad that I got to read an arc of this book. Like, I really liked it. It was really good. And the romance, oh my goodness, I just have to say, the romance, oh, the love interest, he was just the best. He was the best character. If I had to compare Rune to another character from literature, I would say she kind of reminded me of Katniss from the Hunger Games. A little bit. She's not as vicious, but a little bit, because she is Viking, so. Like a mix between like Katniss and Astrid. So now let's move on to audiobooks. I only had 2 audiobooks. The first one is Flight of the Raven by Morgan L. Bussey. This is the second book in the Ravenwood saga. I gave it 5 stars. I can't say a ton about it because I feel like if I do, I'm just gonna give a bunch of spoilers away. All I will say is I really liked how this continued the couple's relationship, and the like political intrigue is really interesting. And there was also one thing that happened near the end of the book that I was just like, oh, that is really heartbreaking, and I was really hoping for a redemption, and it didn't happen because other things happened, and I was like, oh, that's really sad. But actually, no, there was a little bit, and I can't say because it'll be a spoiler, but there was a little bit of redemption for a certain character before a certain event took place. That it's like, oh, that's really sad, but I guess I can live with it. And I really can't say very much else because I don't want to give the plot of, because I feel like if I say a ton more of the first book, I'll give a bunch of spoilers away about the first book. And then the last book we're going to talk about is The Fellowship of the Ring. I listened to this audiobook. I decided that I wanted to reread Lord of the Rings, but I also didn't really have time to actually sit down and read Lord of the Rings because I have a bunch of other books going on. So I just wanted to hold this up because I have a copy of it, but I listened to it. I forgot how much I really love Lord of the Rings. Granted, The Fellowship of the Ring is not my favorite. I really like Return of the King, I think is my favorite. But I just forgot how much I just love Lord of the Rings, and that's all I can really say. I mean, it's just so, I don't feel like I need to give like a plot summary because I feel like pretty much almost everybody knows Lord of the Rings, and probably most of you guys that are watching or follow me know about Lord of the Rings, so I'm not really going to summarize the plot. I'm trying to remember if I liked anybody more than I have the first time. Obviously, Sam is like one of my favorite characters, and I also realized that I really love Aragorn in these books, and I knew that I liked Aragorn, but I didn't realize how much I actually like loved him, his character. Like, his character is just like so, it's so good. I really like Boromir though. And I know a lot of people don't. And I feel like the movies kind of twisted his character because he's a lot different in the book. Obviously, Merry and Pippin are just like hilarious and so funny. But also, I also feel like the movies kind of just made them into these like idiots. And they're not idiots. Like, they're very naive in the books, but they're not stupid. And I feel like a lot of their scenes in the movies are just for comedic relief, which makes me a little sad. But at the same time, I understand because Lord of the Rings is very heavy, so you do need some comedic relief. This series is just has a lot of sentimental value to me, so that's why I love it so much. Obviously, I gave that one 5 stars, but can you really rate Lord of the Rings? I don't know. I'll hold up my stack. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but this is the stack of books. These first 5? These bottom 5 are the physical books that I read, and then the other ones I bought, and then I listened to Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so that's my wrap up for February. I felt like it was a really good reading month book-wise. The lowest rated one was When Stars Like the Sky, and I think everything else had 4 or 5 stars, obviously, because I give every book like 5 stars. If I love it, it doesn't matter, 5 stars. If I just liked it and it wasn't like great, I give it 4 stars. If I didn't like it, I give it 3 stars. I can't bear to give a book anything below 3 stars. I just can't. So pretty much everything I read is 5 stars unless I severely disliked it or there was problems with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you Wow, I can't even remember my whole intro. If you guys want more content, you can go check out my Instagram account, wherever I'm going to put it, I don't know. But that's The Cozy Peddler. I do reviews and I try to post a reel or post Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sometimes that gets thrown off. I'm posting a YouTube video like every other week, although I might be going up to once a week soon, hopefully. I can't remember what I usually say. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe and comment if you want to read any of these books. If they sound interesting, if you've read any of them, what your thoughts were about them. Yeah, I think I gave release dates for all of these other books that aren't released yet. So yeah, I think that's all. So I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day and thank you for watching. Bye.